Hello,
L'chaim and welcome.
hello.
Welcome
L'chaim,
back.
cheers.
Welcome
We
back to
are
the All Brucked
having
Up podcast.
we are having a special episode. It's been a while, so we might as well make it special. We are both in Israel. Akiva made it over here to Israel for the summer. And now you're frozen.
Oh, you just froze too.
Well,
Okay.
I froze because of your
Great
internet
start
connection.
already.
Okay. See, you thought I was frozen because of the Botox, but you were actually frozen because of your internet connection. That's the difference.
Well, in my defense, I'm by the parents in Israel with the whole family, and their Wi-Fi is not as. I don't have Ethernet, I don't have that quick, that fiber optic connection that I'm used to back home.
Yeah, well, I live in Tel Aviv and I have that fiber optic SHIT in my apartment from Partner. Shout out Partner, thank you, because the last service provider I had, don't want to get sued, but they were horrendous. And here is my cat. She like scratching her
Hopefully,
own shadow on the wall.
hopefully it'll come through. I think our
Come
platform
through.
has a way to equalize it, so hopefully we'll get that going. But yeah, sorry you missed the past few weeks. You would think being in Israel, it would be easier for us to get together and do the podcast. But because Sheldon obviously is working throughout the day, and we both can only do it at night, and then I have to put the kids to sleep, and then we're going out sometimes because we're on vacation. So it's a little bit easier when we're in our regular schedules. But thank God we got to go in tonight, and we'll try to get back on schedule moving forward. We're going to be back home in a few weeks, anyways. It's kind
Yeah,
of
in
sad, but
simpler terms, basically, he doesn't have time to pencil us into his schedule to do this podcast because he's just so busy with his high rolling glamorous life
oh
overseas.
yeah,
So I'm so lucky that he was able to schedule this with us. So yeah, that was the simple way of
I
putting it.
really need to get a haircut. My beard, my hair is getting out of control. I look like a
My hair's
caveman.
disastrous. Right before we came on, I'm like, first of all, I totally didn't realize we set a time at 8 p.m. So I was like, okay, I haven't heard from him yet. So I'm going to shower like literally any minute before like I saw your message. And I'm like, crap. So here I am again. I haven't had one episode where like I did my hair well or like it was from the whole
Every
day.
episode you say, "I'm sorry, I look like crap." Every episode.
Every episode. No, but it's funny because the old me back in the day, like when I was living in New York and stuff, I would have never ever gone on camera posting myself without like having my makeup done and my hair looking
It's
snatched,
a good thing
obsessing
you're
over
not
the way
living in
I
New
look.
York
Like here,
because
I'm
we
just like, yeah,
probably
whatever, I look
never
like
have
crap.
an episode
But
recorded.
like, I really could care less. I used to care too much. So because it's about finding that happy balance. I haven't completely given up my looks.
Um,
Though I do wish I had a beauty filter on whatever we're recording on because you can even do that on Zoom. Why can't we do it on here? Not quite sure. So get on that, people at Riverside.
I do got to give a quick shout out to Navut, specifically my close friend Morty. Shout out Morty Hirschkowitz, um, who is sponsoring, his company is sponsoring the run this year. They are an organization that I believe supports lone soldiers in Israel who are trying to adjust back into civilian life and get jobs and find a community and help find their place because they're obviously alone. They don't have family here. So shout out Morty and Navut and all the good work that they're doing.
Better work, Navoot. Good going.
Better work Navut. Oh my goodness. It's funny because I
Work with
always
the
like
WERK.
almost every time like I go out or like when like the few times that like I do something that like when I'm back home, the few times that I do something that requires me to like dress down or dress in more active clothes, like this is always my go-to shirt. And then I always get made fun of by Morty and my other friends because like there's like this thing with like Orthodox Jews. I really think you have to be an Orthodox Jew to really get it. But like there's like this classic dress that like a lot of more Orthodox Jews will have when they're like relaxing on vacation. They'll usually have like a tucked in white polo shirt,
With the
a
khaki
baseball cap.
pants, facing forwards.
Right? They call it a baseball cap, which drives
They're
me
so
nuts.
incognito.
Right? Exactly. So this is my go-to shirt. This is like my tucked in white polo shirt. Um, but yeah, it's been a pretty interesting few weeks. There's a lot of things I wanted to talk about. A few more things that happened more recently, which were just pretty crazy. I was telling Sheldon about earlier, where apparently this guy tried to shoot up a school that I actually went to in Memphis, Margolin Hebrew Academy. I think he tried to get in. He got through one door. The second door was locked. He ended up just like firing off some shots outside. And then he hopped in his truck and left. They ended up catching the guy. I think his name was Josh Bowman. Who he was. It turns out he was an alumnus of the school. And they still don't know what the motive was, but they said that his father had been killed in a shootout with the police a bunch of years ago, and something with donations after the death where some of them were like asked to be directed towards the school. I don't really know, but the whole thing is crazy. And thank God there was no one there, and thank God he couldn't get in. Or I don't even know if no one was there, but thank God he couldn't get in. But it's pretty crazy. It's and like I always used to say I felt safer in Israel than I do in America.
I was
Even
just
though
gonna say.
obviously you're like in the middle of a war zone here, kind of. But at the end of the day, like everyone around you, no matter how different you may be, like religiously, we're all Jews here. And even when you're in areas where there are Arab Israelis, like everyone's just going about their like lives, and it's scary but there's still like a sense of like of protection, and there's a sense of security. There's also soldiers everywhere that are just out there in 100-degree weather every day, just geared up and ready and protecting us. And it's scary to hear about all these things that go on in the states, and like the inability to really foresee and stop these things from happening. It's scary. You never really know.
Um, Totally hear what you're saying. It's funny because I remember when I was like moving to Israel, and like I had a lot of friends. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. And like they'd be like, "Oh my God, is it like so like dangerous there? Like, are you scared of living there?" And it's like it's funny because I've been living here now for 7 years. My
I'm
Aliyah
gonna move
anniversary, which
inside.
is like
Yeah,
what?
keep going.
Okay.
I'm gonna move inside. Keep going.
Um. Okay. He's moving inside. Moving on up to the east side. So basically, August 22nd is my Aliyah anniversary, which is my 7 year immigration anniversary. So that's really exciting. And now my kid is playing with my dog. Hi, relax. Tessa, do not hit Milo. Oh my God, my animals.
I
You
can
see, it's
just
just like
imagine
having
her like
kids.
doing her like cat hits.
That's exactly what she's doing. She's sitting on her thing, and the little bitch slaps like, huh? Want to play with me? I will cut you. Like I love her. I was never a huge cat person. I do love animals in general. Now that I have one, like she's like hysterical. But she literally, I will have my AirPods case, like my AirPods case, literally sitting on my kitchen table. She looks at me. She looks at my AirPods. She looks at me. She looks at my AirPods. Looks at me and knocks them off with her hand and just stares at me. Like she knows what she's doing, and like so she
Right.
like will just like go up to him and just hit him in the face. Like, what are you gonna do? I feel like half the time she's looking at me in admiration, but the other half of the time she's looking at me like plotting my demise. It's kind of like you know, I kind of love her
Right.
that for that though. So, you know,
Right. It's rough that my wife and I, are kind of on the opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to animals. But maybe when kids get older, we'll. I think I've convinced her to allow me to
even the
have
playing
an
field.
animal that she doesn't have to like see or deal with. So I'm thinking of getting like a bird or like a lizard or something to have in my office.
Yeah, I'd love to see your wife with the lizard or bird in your office and how she's gonna handle that. First
She
of
wouldn't have to
all,
see it.
bird in your office. Your dad's never gonna come visit you. Ain't ever coming over to your house anymore because our father is petrified of birds.
Well, you got to give
Um,
a little bit of context as to why that is.
I don't know why it is. He's had many
You know the story?
instances. Well, the one with the
Well,
bank drive-through.
that's the initial. That was what set it all off.
No, he had it like forever, and that's like the thing that was like, oh my God, it happened to him. I'm telling you, he always had this fear. But yeah, he was driving through a bank teller, his sunroof was open, and literally a dead bird fell in his lap. Like, who does that even happen to? But of course, the guy is petrified of birds. And our dad's like a very tough guy. Like, I always joke around, not being serious. Like, he could shoot someone, like, in the face and, like, just go on with his day. But, like, a bird, like, that's it. Hands off deck. Like, no way. Like, literally,
Right, he'll
not
still
even,
duck
like,
if a pigeon flies overhead. He's ducking for
and by,
cover.
by overhead, we mean about, like, 2,000 feet in the air.
When a bird enters like when there are people who are like deathly allergic to like peanut butter or peanuts, they'll go into like anaphylactic shock. Like I know some people, they can go into a room and like they can just know immediately if there's peanuts in there because like they'll
But
start
you
like
know what?
getting
I have
tingles.
friends like that, but they're still not as petrified as he is of birds. I'm just
Right.
saying.
He could whenever like a bird enters within the vicinity, it doesn't matter how high or far out, he's on alert. He's on call. He's ready to
That's it.
he's,
Oh,
he's ready
she.
to
Oh, she. It's
he's
coming.
ready to shove us out the way and get into the house.
Because, like if you're, a person who really understands animals and everything, birds are out to destroy our lives individually. So they're all out
Right.
to get him out of everyone. him. They have places to be. It's like, bitch, I don't have time to deal with you. I gotta fly south or something. It's the
Exactly.
winter is coming.
Speaking of which, he is eager, I believe, to come on as a guest on the podcast. So we're gonna have to set that up at
I
some point.
know.
Have him come on.
We've had a lot of people who've been inquiring with us. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna have to make a waiting list. Like, oh, sorry guys, step in
Right.
line. We'll see when
Exactly.
we can pencil you in.
Exactly.
But but how are you enjoying your time here in Israel? Like, what have you been up to while you were here? Like, have you gone anywhere different that you haven't been to before?
No, I would have liked to, but at the same time, it's hard. The first couple of weeks we were here, we were with the kids every day, and they just started camp here this past week, so they've been going in, hopefully learning some Hebrew. Camp starts at 7:45 in the morning. I'm thinking 7:45 in the morning. I'm on vacation, Chevra. I'm not
What
waking
is
up at
7:45 in the
7.
morning?
So now we got to get up. We got to pack them lunches. We got to get them ready. We get there at like 8:15, and then we pick them up at 4. But our
Go back home,
youngest
pass
son,
out.
right? But our youngest son was like two. He was just too young, and he missed the cutoff, so he couldn't go to the camp. So we have him home, and he takes a nap in the middle of the day. So we're like, it kind of puts a bump in our plans. Like if we wanted to do something, we can't go too far because you got to get our older kids, the twins, and we also has to take a nap. So we got to wait sometimes, or just put him in the car. In which case, if anyone is listening that has kids, if he only naps for a half hour, he's going to be having an absolute tantrum for the rest of the day. So it's been a little bit tough, but honestly, it's just been very relaxing here. We'll go out in the morning for a swim. We're chilling, get some food, go out to dinner, go out to lunch. Really, really not doing much. I feel like when you have kids, just having them out and in camp and having one nap is already like the most vacation you need, and then you can just do what you need to do.
I'm literally dying because I literally asked you if you've done anything different, and you went into like the classic every single like dad spiel where it's like, well, I got the kids, and you literally went into all their schedules and how it's throwing you off, and then also your youngest and all this. And see, this is why I'm really like, I'm very like, I plan out everything. So when I order my baby from orderbaby.com, I'm going to have to make sure like, A, if it poops and pees, it knows how to clean up after itself. You know what I'm saying? B, they don't cry and stuff like that. And C, like they could do their own thing, like walk to camp and stuff. So as long as they meet the qualifications I'm looking for, I will order that baby. So as long as it has a good return policy.
I remember like, must have been like 10 or more years ago, this Oprah had this woman on who was able to who decoded the different cries of babies, and basically she explained that there was like 6 different cries, like and nah and
Shoshi knows them. Our sister Shoshi, she knows all them because she's a doula and stuff. So she literally was explaining to me. I'm like, that's so interesting.
Like when they're hungry or they're gassy or they're tired or there's something.
They just want to keep you up in the middle of the night just for fuck's sake.
Right, exactly. But
you have a tendency like to do that.
It's crazy. The kids are really. It's like one of those things that like you're just never going to be prepared for, and every child is different. And like it's not like you're given like this default child. It's like every kid is almost like born with like a completely different personality and like unique characteristics. Like you're given a person. You're not given like a blank piece of paper that you mold into what you want. You're given a person, and that you just have to figure it out the best way to. And you're always gonna get something wrong. No matter what you do, they're gonna grow up one day and be like, when I grew up, this is what I had to deal with, or this is how my parents felt, and I'm gonna be that guy. Like, I gave you a great childhood. What are you talking about? Like freaking out. We try our best.
Yeah,
we try our best.
I would say people always ask me like if I want kids and stuff. Like I am great with kids and I love being an uncle, but I feel like that I don't know what the future holds, but I feel like I'm very happy with like being an uncle. It's like all the fun and like I'm totally gonna be the one who like sneaks them at the house at night when they're teenagers and like takes them partying and stuff. But like like that, I love when I can hang out with them, right? I already have a plan drawn out. You're gonna be asleep. I'm gonna like knock you out. Don't worry, I got all my bases covered. I told you, very methodical, very planned out. But like basically like it's like all the good stuff are in my younger like nieces and nephews. It's like it's so much fun, and then when they get whiny and stuff, it's like, okay, now that you go back to your parents, I'm so sorry. And it's like, oh, whoo, could have had that one coming home with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, but for the most part, I happen to love kids. It's just like it's a lot. Like you can't like they become the number one priority, and you become second to yourself. It's like a different thing.
It turns your world upside down. I mean, it's the greatest gift in the world, but it's definitely. We actually got into a conversation with someone about like someone I mentioned that she didn't want to have kids and she didn't feel like she needs kids. She's focusing on her career. And like, like that's that and the other. And like, I feel like I have need kids. And like someone said, like, like I totally respect that. And, you could be great, but like, I've never met anyone that's had kids and has regretted it. Like it's only enriched your life more, which I totally hear. But it's not easy and is an understatement, and there's literally nothing that can prepare you for that.
It's funny because like what you just said, it sounds like so beautiful and everything, but the first thing that came to my mind because I'm so morbid and I'm obsessed with true crime is when you said that like there's no parent who regrets something, and like, bitch, I can literally name a list of at least 10 off the top of my head who literally have killed their babies, like
Oh
literally
my god!
psychopaths. That I'm like, yeah, it sounds good and everything, but that's like the first place that my mind went to. I'm like, oh,
It
bitch, like
reminds me of
literally, let me tell you.
that reminds me of this video I saw from like a sentencing. This guy, I don't even know what he did to his kid, but it was horrible. And this like skinny, tall white guy with a bunch of tattoos on his face, looking like a lunatic. And he was standing up before the judge, and he was like, he still was claiming he was innocent, he didn't do anything. And the judge was like, "So, what should the punishment be if we do find the person who did this? What should
Death.
the punishment be?" And he said he should be put underneath the jail. He's like, "Well, in that case, I sentence you to the maximum life sentence in prison." Hits his gavel, and he's off. I was like, "Yup."
What a psychopath.
Also, those people usually get taken care of in jail pretty quick.
Taking care of like killed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
anything
I
like pedophiles, anything like that, because like it's just next level. Like it's just next level. It's just next
yeah,
level.
I've
Understandable,
listened to a bunch of
honestly, to
different
kill
people
them.
from their prison experiences. A lot of them say like one of the first things that happens when you get in there is they ask to see your papers. Like what are you in for? And they don't need to. They don't care to read your whole case, to read everything. They just want to make sure that you're not in for sexual assault charges. That's like the main thing.
Yeah, no,
And
because that's like
if you
next
are,
level.
you're going to be out, right?
Even what's his name, Larry Naz something, whatever, that disgusting
Larry
Nasser.
Nasser or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And he was like the disgusting pedophilic doctor for like, the girls' gymnastics and everything. And they just like said a couple weeks ago, like he had like the shit beaten out of him in jail. And it's not like I'm feeling bad for you. And like we've spoken before in the podcast about how like American chairs aren't there for rehabilitation stuff. People like that, you don't get rehabilitated. Like
I
you
mean,
do
that
not
doesn't
get
even like
rehabilitated.
getting beaten up like that doesn't even like a little bit make up for the things he's done. It's
Right.
just like
You're in
it's just like
pain,
a little
you'll heal. Their emotional
right,
wounds and scars will never.
right. And the judge in that case also, she said like I am like something along the lines of, I have the opportunity now to sign your death certificate and put you away for the rest of your life. It's
Fucking
so crazy. I
disgusting.
can't even. That's why I'm always interested in those like documentaries that like sort of
Especially
focus on like
because
criminal
he was
minds and
a doctor. Like,
yeah.
like our mother was always very good about like, making sure, like, because we were always very like, big personalities and everything like that. And my mother always would make sure, and she's like, the only people that could like ever like, see you naked or like touch you or anything is if it's like your mother. I don't even think she said father, but I'm sure father too. And a doctor, if he needs to touch you, and me or dad are there. Like that's the only time it's ever appropriate. And like, because the doctor's like the one other person you're supposed to trust. Like for someone to really like lose that trust, it's like how could you, like, I don't know how a lot of these girls or women will ever like be able to see another doctor and not always have in the back of their mind like, is this person going to betray me like he did? Like,
Right.
just it's
It's
horrible.
right. It's like it's lifelong trauma. I can't even low Elenu below cholesterol. Like it's not even something that we should have to. I don't
Ever
wish that upon my
experienced
worst enemy. It's like
anybody.
the worst thing in the world. But on a lighter note, something I was interested in. Um, First of all, I have to preface this by saying that Cillian Murphy. This is a weird segue, but I'm too excited. Cillian Murphy is one of my favorite actors. The guy is incredible. He's been underrated for years. He was
Oh, from Peaky
phenomenal in Batman.
Blinders.
He was phenomenal in Batman. He was beyond incredible in the Peaky Blinders. And I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but obviously
I'm dying to see it.
Barbenheimer was like the biggest
I know. I
box
want to
office
go. You want to go
weekend.
see Barbie and Oppenheimer with me when you figure out your kid's schedule eventually?
I
I
don't
want
know
to see
how
it.
much I'm into seeing Barbie, but Oppenheimer looks really interesting.
I like never go to movie theaters, but the thing is like I was watching this whole thing about Oppenheimer and how it's filmed in like 170 millimeter film from like the IMAX theaters, and there's only like apparently like 30 or 40 IMAX theaters that actually show this true IMAX quality around the entire world, and like it's like 300 something feet of real, and it's like not normal like the quality of it because it's filmed in such high intense quality, and it's like also the thing I really appreciate is like Christopher Nolan was talking about the fact that he kept like CGI and stuff with the minimal. He wanted everything to be realistic stunts, which is something so many movies lack because all these studios are just trying to press on more and more movies, and they're killing all these everything's CGI. It's like it all starting to look a little bit ridiculous, and you miss that creativity and having to figure out how to make a situation crazy but also safe for the crew, and like it's you're losing a big part of that. Even like when you watch behind the scenes and like Avatar and all these movies, it's like there's just like blue walls, and you could say yeah their acting is amazing, but even for these actors and actresses, it's like you want to immerse yourself in a character, and even if you go put
Right.
yourself in that mindset, you can't immerse yourself when you're not immersed in that actual thing. There's a reason why there's like actors who like play their character even when they're not filming, like method acting, like you
Right.
really immerse yourself in the character, and you don't have that ability, so I feel like it makes it more difficult.
Right. I was watching some of the behind the scenes of when they were filming it like like a year or two ago, or a year and a half ago, and like setting off like small bombs and like I mean, Christopher Nolan's always been over the top in his movies, and they're incredible. Didn't he? I think he also said like this movie specifically is meant like to really appreciate it. You got to see it in IMAX,
Yeah,
otherwise you're not getting the full. I don't even know if they have IMAX theaters here, but I think
I
they.
think
I
they
think
have one.
I've
I
seen
think
them
they have
around.
one in a lot. I remember when I was in a lot in like 2010. I remember they had a huge
Yeah,
IMAX theater.
and I'm definitely not driving 3 hours to go see Oppenheimer, but
It'll take
I
a little
always just
longer,
think
I'm
about
sure.
I always just think about that the famous line he said after he witnessed the testing of the I think the Trinity nuclear bomber in like July of 19 I don't even know what year it was 1945 when he quoted the Bhagavad Gita and he said I am become death a destroyer of worlds, which is one of the craziest things, but it's scary,
That's
like it's
concerning.
him, like he literally created the most destructive force mankind's ever produced, and it's only gotten
That's the
crazier
thing.
from
It's like
there.
so exactly, and that's why it's like it just takes one country who has nuclear missiles or something to like go ballistic, not to shut them out because I don't want to be taken out. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
It kind of
Um,
reminds me of that
we're
famous.
done.
There's a famous picture. I think it's one of the most famous pictures of space ever taken, where it's like a picture of Earth from like millions of light years away, and all you see is this little blue dot, and it's called the pale blue dot. It's a very famous picture, and Carl Sagan gave this phenomenal speech about how we're just this little speck of dust within the universe, and all of our lives, our experiences, our sorrow, our sadness, our happiness, everything, our friendships, everything is just on that little speck of dust. And it's crazy to think like there's so much to explore, there's so much to learn. And there's a bunch of clowns who are for some reason controlling the world, and they have the power to just destroy everything in an instant over literally nonsense. Just in the cosmic scope of things, it's just complete stupidity. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
over
totally.
what? Over what land? Like, come on,
Seriously.
ridiculous. But I do want to see Oppenheimer. It looked incredible. I've heard Barbie was really great. I also heard it was the highest grossing film ever directed by a female director, or the highest, or maybe the biggest
Something like
box
that.
office
I
opening.
heard a lot of things. Like I also heard like that they tapped into like they talk about like the patriarchy every 6 seconds and stuff like that. Obviously, until I watch it, I can't make any decisions. But I just it
Right.
sounds I for heard from some people, but I don't know if it's just because it's like that's what like Fox News and stuff been saying. But I've been hearing from some people that like it has a little bit too much of a political input, which
Well, that was
is
kind of
just
like the movie Don't Look Up. I felt like that was a similar. That also kind
not
of had a bit
really.
of.
It's like, bitch, we could literally get destroyed by a thing, literally to the point of the entire thing you just said.
Right.
Like, it's not a political issue. It's literally a possible issue. Like, it's like that's like,
Right. That movie was scary because I feel like that's what actually happened.
and
It's like a
it didn't
massive
get such great
meteor.
reviews. So I thought it was great. But that's the thing is, NASA was testing their thing. I think it was called DART, where they literally push the thing to see if they could push an asteroid into a different, to move it out of its path so it would circulate, and it was successful. So, I
Right.
mean, obviously, like if it was much, much larger, we'd kind of be screwed. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's like what you were saying, like God forbid, like something like that ever happened. It's like there isn't
Right.
much we could do.
I read recently somewhere in an article that I think like something like 90% of meteors in space that are, extinction event size meteors, like that could wipe out the world. We're aware and know where 90% of them are, and they're not a threat to us, but the other 10%, like, we're not totally sure. And that's why it's important that NASA, like, was successful in that mission, probably still working on being able to, if need be, potentially reroute one of these massive meteorites, like the one that they say hit and wiped out the dinosaurs, which is just like the scariest. I can't even. That's got to be the scariest thing ever.
Right? Like, look at the sky. Like, bitch, what is that? Like, what is going on with the sun? It's coming real close. Like, what is
But
going on?
if I'm not mistaken, Jim Carrey, who's changed a lot, obviously, for anyone that's seen him speak recently, he's changed a lot. I think what happened was like 10 years ago or something, maybe less, maybe longer. I'm not totally sure. You could fact check me or correct me if I'm wrong. But the story that I heard, and I think I read this, was that he was in Hawaii vacationing or something, and a false alarm went off for like a nuclear missile, and they
Oh yeah,
literally
that was
thought.
crazy when that happened. They
But he said
literally
he
everyone got it
went,
on their phones.
but he said he went onto like the beach and just sat down and was just like, he said he came to like complete peace with like his life, and he was just like ready to go. And then obviously it was a false alarm.
I was gonna say, was he sitting there like afterwards, like shit? I already like literally like already I have accepted it. I'm going through the the 5 different phases of grief,
But he's been
and it's like
he's been so different since then. Like he's made a lot of public statements like about all this is just nonsense, and like these award
he's always
ceremonies
been a
are
big
just
advocate like that. Like that's the thing is he's a big comedian, but people don't realize that comedians, a lot of it is hiding pain or making light of things. That's what I always say is we're living in such a PC culture. I think that there's a lot of things that we could, make fun of things. It's like it's either you could laugh or you could cry. And it's like,
right,
there are a lot of things like if people who are actually being aggressive or racist or stuff like that, never okay. But like when we all say things, or I always knock myself, like when you're just like, playful with certain things, because you make light of things. Life is shitty at times. No matter if you're
right,
white, black, poor, rich, doesn't matter. Like it's hard for everyone in different ways, and there's definitely different levels. But no one has it easy, and people who think that they have it easy, never the case.
right. I saw Jim Carrey recently. I mean, I
You
saw it
saw him?
recently, but I think it was a
I
couple
was gonna
years
say, I
ago
was like, were
where
you hanging out with him?
he was on the Graham Norton show, which I love,
Love it.
and it was him, someone else I forgot, and Margot Robbie, and he was saying,
She's
I think, how like
gorgeous.
he had never been to Australia, I think, and she's like, oh my gosh, he's like, and he turns to her, he goes, but I'm so happy for you that you're as successful as you are with your clear physical disadvantages. He's like, I mean, that's just pure talent right there. Everyone was dying. Like only
It's
Jim
funny
Carrey can
because
compliment you and roast you at the
totally.
same time.
No, but like she's like insanely talented. Like she directs and produces things as well. And like people have spoken to her like about her being on set, and she'll literally just break into character in like a second. And she's supposed to be really talented, but she is like stunning, like next level. Though I did watch a video where she probably did have a little bit of tweaking done, but we all do, especially in Hollywood, they all do. But like, but she's still like insanely gorgeous. Insanely gorgeous.
Tweaking, you mean like
A little bit of this, a little bit of
plastic
that.
surgery?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so much more intense. People think plastic surgery like, oh my god, no, they didn't. Everybody does, bitch. And it's like not just injectables. Like a lot of things that are really popular, and she is speculated to have had done is like the buccal fat removal surgery, which is like the fat pack that you have over here. So you suck it out, and this way it gives you a really But like everyone's doing that now, and it's like the thing is also is like for some people if they have very very round faces, okay, but at the same time when you age, you lose all that fat and stuff in your face naturally. So then you're going to look extremely gaunt. So then you're going to have to eventually use filler to fill it in. But maybe I'm
I
just
think
jealous I
also
haven't got it done yet.
if you Google like Barbie or any of the cast, like the screen turns pink and starts like shooting off like pink fireworks.
We always talked about because I work in marketing. Their budget was like literally like billions, like not even normal what their budget
Whose
was.
budget
My
for Barbie?
Barbie, My Alexa, I can't say her name, has a whole. She always says, "You want to turn your Barbie theme, all this stuff." Google changed to Barbie the day it came out. Everything was that cost a lot of money. They knew it was going to make a lot of money. They're claiming outpaced all
Who
their what they thought.
which like studio produced it? Do you know?
I'm not sure because I
So
haven't seen it because
curious. Like,
all of my friends, shout out to my friends watching, they all saw without me. I'm like, hey,
it was
Lauren, shout out
Warner
Lauren.
Bros.
Want to come with
Yeah,
me to
Warner
Barbie? Oh, I'm seeing it with someone. Okay. Hey, Anna,
Bros.
shout out Anna. Want to go see the Barbie? Oh, I'm so sorry, I already saw it. Hey, Ashley, already saw it. Everybody, does everyone just not want to go to the movies with me? It happens to be I do never go to the movies because I'm so ADD and I can't sit through the movies and all of that. Like, I watch a lot of TV. My Apple TV is going on behind me. Like, but I'm also vacuuming or doing dishes or making myself dinner. Like, I can't just like sit in the movie theater. You sit like the last movie I saw in theaters was with mom. We saw A Star Is Born. Before then, Beauty and the Beast. Before then, I was living in New York. Like, I never see movies in theaters. I do like the popcorn
Right.
though.
It's funny,
Uh,
Warner Bros., which
the popcorn
of course
machine.
was founded by Jews, Harry, Sam, Jack, and Albert. They started at Warner
But
Brothers.
don't you see? There you go. That's how you know that the Jews are taking over the world and destroying all of everyone else's lives. You literally
I
just
mean,
put the pieces together. There you go. That's it.
no, but it is fascinating that a lot of the major banks like Goldman Sachs, I don't think J.P. Morgan maybe. No, I don't think J.P. Morgan is Jewish, but definitely
Kiva,
Goldman
you are
Sachs.
giving people fuel right now.
It's just crazy, you know. Like,
No, but let's make it clear, it ain't us. Like I've said before,
It's
like
not us.
if we were taking over the world, bitch, where is my cut? Where is
Right,
my cut? Because I
exactly.
am
Let
not
me
paid
get
enough
in.
for this shit. Literally, like
Right,
no one
let me
brought
get
me
in.
into that conspiracy. There goes Mr. Lewis. Our mother's
Louis.
little furball dog. Hold on, I'm just gonna go get a bottle of wine because my glasses are
Um,
empty.
it's also nice because I feel like in the last 4 or 5 years there really hasn't been um like any like solidly good movies, and now they're finally starting to pick back up. I also heard the movie coming out, The Sound of Freedom, I think it's called. It's supposed to be
Okay,
fantastic.
first of all, can we discuss freaking Snow White?
Oh, with the whole thing with the
The movie's
dwarves
called
and
Snow
little.
White, not Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Okay. They literally cut out the dwarves from the movie, and it's like funny because I mean it's not funny, but it's ironic because they're talking about how it's like a sensitivity thing from everything I've been watching. But it's like there are literally actors in Hollywood who have a difficult time getting role because of their dwarfism.
Right, there's
And
only so many roles, you know.
right. So this is literally a movie that includes them. And if there's plenty of them who have spoken out who are not offended by it and offended by the fact that they cut them out. Like that's
Right, and
like
the
and I
defense is and the defense is it's not real. It was a cartoon. It was magical creatures. They're not really, you know, they're not
but it's
actual
called
people who
Snow
have
White and the
dwarfism.
Seven Dwarfs. And it's like it's just it's ridiculous. And it's funny also because a company like Disney, like that is so open and diverse now and everything like that. It was started by a man. Sorry for all the noise. It's my wine opener because my other one broke. It was started by a man who's literally anti-Semitic. Was like he has like a lot of people said a lot of bad things about him. Yeah, he's extremely creative and he's done so much, in the world and everything. He's built up an entire conglomerate, but you know, there's so many old racist Disney movies. There's so many movies on Disney Plus now that have a disclaimer because of that. Like, and it's like all of a sudden you're so accepting, and it's not like it comes across where it's like they're genuine and it's like, oh, we're including gay characters. Look, we're so good. It's like now they're swapping out everything to make a scene. It's like, look, Little Mermaid, she was white with red hair. Bam, we'll make her black. All these things where it's not coming off as like, oh, that's the actress who was like, in the um interview, not the interviews, the auditions, and like, did they even audition any white girls? And if so, were they even in the running? If they were eligible, if they had incredible talent, would they have even had a shot? Don't believe that. Like, it's so
I mean,
now
it's also interesting because Walt Disney himself was like a raging anti-Semite,
that's what I just said exactly.
which is funny because it reminds me of that Family Guy episode where they reference Walt Disney.
He
And like
gets
you see
melted.
him,
Yeah, he
you see
gets
him,
he gets
right? They
because
right,
he's in a
wake him up
cryo
after
chamber.
right. They wake him up after like 100 years, and he's like, oh, are the Jews dead yet? And they're like, no. He's like, put me back in. And he goes back down. It's like, it's crazy. It's really
And like,
crazy.
and people forget those things. Even like me, like I love cars. Henry Ford was an extreme anti-Semite. Like,
Right. Volkswagen, obviously, and Mercedes both helped. They supplied the Nazis with vehicles. Hugo Boss made the
BMW,
uniforms,
also
designed the
BMW with
uniforms.
the airplanes. Oh my god, sorry, my cat just hit my vapes, and here she comes. Um, yeah, BMW did like the war airplanes. That's why their thing is like a propeller in the sky. But they make great cars. Sorry.
Right. Remember when I think Russell Brand was nominated for. He was given an award from GQ
Oh my god, me
uh,
too.
at and he spoke at the event when he got the award, and he said something along the lines of, "You should really look it up. It's phenomenal." And he referenced how Hugo Boss. He's like, a lot of people don't know this. Oh, the event was co-sponsored. It was by GQ, and it was also sponsored by Hugo Boss. They were like the main event sponsor. And he said, like, a lot of people don't know this, but Hugo Boss actually designed the uniforms for the SS officers. And he goes, but at least they all looked good while they were ruthlessly murdering people based on
Literally,
their religion, beliefs,
literally.
ideologies, and race. And then after he left, someone said to him, like, what you said about Hugo Boss was really not cool. And he's like, what Hugo Boss did to the Jews was really not cool.
Right, right. Because it's your first thing to be like, okay, that's a little much in public, but it's also a little much to literally be doing that shit. So,
Right.
would we be saying that if something like this happened nowadays?
Right.
Like even with the Snow and the Seven Dwarfs things, like imagine if like they were doing a movie and there's a black character, but they took out the black character because they didn't want to offend anyone because they only casted white people. So then it's like, oh, we don't want to offend you, so we just took it out. It's like, but that's wrong. Like that's wrong.
Right.
Like it's crazy. Even like Huckleberry Finn, like that movie with John Taylor Thomas, like in the real book, like Huck and Finn and stuff.
I
It's like
loved that movie.
yeah, but like the other,
I
but
just remembered it when you just said it.
I don't know which one it is, but Huck, I think it's the Huck one, is supposed to be a black character in the Mark Twain book.
Really?
That's how it was. Yeah, check it out. They also
Never
like
read
ran
any
away together.
books.
I'm pretty sure that's because they were gay lovers and stuff. But whatever. We didn't get that. Jonathan Taylor Thomas and whatever happened to him, is he even alive anymore? It's crazy.
I
Like
don't even
people
know who
like
that is.
exactly, but he was the biggest thing. But you are very young. You were born in like
Oh, now I
96.
see him. Oh my gosh, he's looking different. I'll tell you that. He
Really
is
Google
looking
Haley
different.
Joe Osment. Haley Joe Osment, huge child actor. Then he got older.
Oh yeah.
Such a cute little
Also,
kid.
the
He
guy who
was.
played Beans in Even Stevens, Stephen Anthony Lawrence.
Looks exactly the same, just older.
He looks exactly the same. He really does. He looks exactly the same.
Beans just got older. Like literally, there was no evolution. He's older.
Funny because I
Shut up,
call my
Beans.
daughter Beans because her middle name is Bina, so I call her Beans a lot. My wife doesn't like it, but I think it's cute. I call her Beans. Beans.
Totally.
I feel like it's one of those names like when she gets a little bit older, I'm gonna be calling her Beans for her French, and you're like, Dad, stop. You know, like
Totally. And when you get older, when she gets older, wait like literally a year or two. She'll already be doing that.
Right. That was a great show. I enjoyed that. There's like I don't know. There's a lot of like just so many like good, clean, family friendly shows. But a lot of these kids that like were kind of like forced into these roles by their parents or pressured by their families. And like Miley Cyrus, I remember was speaking in an interview about like how think about like what Hannah Montana was. Where like it's this girl who no one knows or cares about, and only she puts on this hair and this makeup and becomes this famous person that everyone loves.
She puts in a
Imagine
blonde
what
wig
that
and everyone's like, oh shit. Like what happens if Miley wanted to dye her hair blonde? She couldn't because everyone would know she's Hannah Montana. Like that's all
right,
it
but like
took.
imagine like what like the psychological pressure that puts on a child that young that like you're getting so into this role where like you're only popular when you're this famous person.
Yeah, but that's like the least of it. You literally have an entire crew. You're not a person. You are a brand. Everyone is relying on you to be here, and it doesn't matter. Like, oh, you're working hard. That's great. We need you here. You don't. She doesn't get like a choice on going on tours and doing all this stuff. It's like you are part of that Disney 360 deal. Like you have to do all these things. Like, and you're worked hard as a kid. It's like so like far. Like people think that they understand it. It's like nobody would understand it unless you're actually in those shoes. And then to not only be in that, but to have a parent if they're pushing you into it, you literally have no support. You literally have
I'm
nothing
Miley
to lean on.
Cyrus, and you're watching Disney Channel.
Did you ever watch
I
those
love
things when
the
they're like making the?
yes,
Yeah, I love those. When they were doing like the
yes.
fucked up symbols. It's like, bitch, I knew that's what you drew. I knew it. Like, don't give me that CGI stuff. We knew
Right.
it. You can't
Yeah,
draw
if
for
anyone who
shit.
doesn't know, you got to look it up. It's on YouTube. It's like when someone traces the actual drawings that they're doing when they're drawing the
And
different
if you
symbols.
don't know
And
what the
it's
glow sticks are, then you're too young and literally listen to something else because what the hell? Why am I old?
there's some great shows like Sam and something super short show. What was that?
Uh, this is Sam Super Short Show when they did that whole thing. He was
Sam.
like
Well,
that.
it's not just Sam's. It's something else. It was
No, it was Sam's Super Short Show, and he had his sister with him, but it was just him. Mike's Super Short Show. That's what it is. You're
with
right.
Allison Stoner. Yeah, with Allison Stoner.
Yep. Love that last name. It would have been perfect for me.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's crazy though. Things were so different back then. I'm like, I
So
don't
much
know.
better. People always say that, like back in the day, but the thing is like now everyone's just watching people twerk on TikTok. Like literally, there was no access to any of this stuff back in the day. So yeah, it was definitely better because literally, what the hell?
It's also everything about nowadays is just it's conditioning our brains to not have any patience and to constantly be searching for the next thing. That's why like
Patience is
there
a
are
thing of the
most
past.
people will literally not watch an entire season of a show on TV just so that they could binge it at the end of the season. And YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and you're just watching this
Yeah,
short form
that I don't
content
know.
all day.
That first example, I do kind of like that though because it's kind of annoying when you're like watching it and then like shit, you have to wait till the next episode. It's like so it's kind of better like
Yeah,
you wait
that's
till the
fun.
end.
It's the suspense. Otherwise, like so much of the writing process, I feel like, is being able to write a good cliffhanger, a good ending to an episode, a good ending
Well,
to
now
a
they're on
finale.
strike because they're not getting paid enough to do that shit. So
Right, it is crazy, and most of the actors are supporting them
there's a
from
lot
what
of
I
actors
hear.
on strike
Most, if
right
not
now.
all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
And Fran
it
Drescher's
is
like the
really
president of the
crazy.
SAG like thing. Like,
But I
and
heard that Netflix lost like their stock dropped like a bunch, and they lost like billions of in valuation.
yeah, but that's nothing new for them. But yeah,
It is crazy. I think about that a lot. Like also like songwriters, like
songwriters do get the majority of the I mean unless
do
like there's
they?
certain deals. Yes. The artist who actually sings them does not make a lot of money off of it. It's
But I
their
felt
label
like
and the songwriter.
wasn't like Bruno Mars was the songwriter at first, and Jason Derulo and Kesha I think also used to write music.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe Lady
Yeah.
Gaga I think
Till
also.
the World Ends that from Britney Spears, that's written by Kesha. She gets royalties on that shit. And that's really popular. She has Britney Spears singing her song. Any of those kinds of things. But that's the thing that's like Taylor Swift, like the deal that she had with her record label is that she didn't have it. Like those are her songs, but they got like, a larger percentage or gave her such a sucky percentage. So she re-recorded all the songs because they're her songs. So if she
I,
uses the re-recorded versions, it's okay.
I saw an interview with Paul McCartney. I think he was on Howard Stern, and he said he was speaking with Michael Jackson once, and he told him he should get into publishing, and Michael Jackson ended up buying all of his songs. And he like a bunch of years later, he like he wanted his own music. He didn't even have the rights to his own music, and Michael's like, that's business. And that was it.
It's so messed up. It's literally
It's very
something that's
cutthroat.
yours is
It's a
taken
money
away.
game. Everyone just wants money. That's all
It's
it's about. And it's
America.
very sad.
Yeah.
Right. It's a rat race. It really is just a rat race.
I love that movie.
We're never
Speaking of
satisfied.
which.
Right. And great movie. And the more you have, the more you want.
That's my super short show.
It's interesting because as a kid, I met there's always like those kids from upper class or wealthy homes that like are always like not like snobby and obnoxious or think they're all that and more. But the kids that I've met in my life who come from like really, really wealthy homes, like really wealthy, were always like the sweetest, and they were never like trying to like show off. It's always the kids who like had a little bit of money or like we're whatever that were like, we have this, we have 8 houses here. I remember this kid in camp. My dad has 6 planes. He's flying. He went to Jay-Z and Beyonce's baby shower. I'm like, bro, get out of here with that nonsense, dude. What kind of crazy? If you're gonna make something up, at least make it somewhat believable.
Even if it is, like, just like be like randomly talking about that, like, oh yeah, it's like, what do you want? Like, oh my god, that's amazing. I'm like so jealous. Your life is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, but
And then you grow up and you realize
they do that sad.
severe insecurity and lack of self-esteem.
Well,
And
some of them don't grow up and realize that. That's the sad part, because then they continue their life like that, and they are like not a whole person and miserable, and they don't know why, but they'll never actually seek the therapy or help that they need. Fortunately, there's people like
it,
them.
it reminds me of what Dad used to always say to us, and he still says, and quotes from Sam Walton, who passed away, the founder of Walmart, who said, if people need to tell you how smart they are, they're not that smart. If someone needs to tell you how much money they have, they don't got that much money. People that really are proud and successful and live meaningful lives, there's no reason to try to shove that in everyone else's face, because they don't need any sort of uh, positive
Validation.
judgment or validation. There you go. They don't need that validation from random. Why? Who cares what everyone else
That's the
thinks?
society we're living in now with social media. Everything. It's everyone's seeking validation for everything, and it's like, and it's crazy that there's still people who really buy into people's lives like being perfect. When it's like, bitch, social media has been out for so long now, and you still haven't realized that people only post the great things going on in their life, or like they will stage things and
Right.
stuff like that. It's like, how do you still don't get it?
Except for John Moran, who decided to post a video of him holding a gun twice and got suspended from the NBA and lost like $50 million worth of potential money because got suspended. That wasn't the smartest.
What about Michael Phelps that smoked a hit a like he had a bong hit on
That
camera
was
and his
crazy.
everything
Different
was
times, eh?
gone?
Different times.
Psychotic, right? And he's probably thinking now like, really, really.
Had I waited 10 years to smoke a joint, he'd be
He
chilling,
was
you
a
know.
grown
But he's
ass
still.
man still doing his thing in the Olympics. Who the fuck cares if he smoked weed? Everything
And I
was
remember
taken
even
from
even a
him.
couple of years ago, I think there was a video of Odell Beckham Jr., a football player. He was on the Giants. I'm not sure if he still is. And like, there's a video where like it looked like he was smoking a blunt, and people were like all up in arms. And this is like a year or two ago, a couple of years ago. You know, I mean, he was in the NFL, and like
Crazy.
at the same time, like when you're in an organization like that, if they have rules, you also have to abide by those rules, and like that's the main issue.
There's
But the
something.
Michael Phelps
Yeah.
thing was mainly about the public's perception at the time, not as much. It's not like giving you an edge in your swimming.
But also, the public's perception is also very much so distorted by the media itself, because that's the
Exactly.
access to information. So it's what the media is feeding you, which will giving you that. And that's why people think that they are free thinking. At the same time, you're not, because the only way you're getting this knowledge is from the media, and it depends on which media you're doing from. There's this thing I was just watching actually the other day. It was like a news channel, a news thing on YouTube, where they literally talk about a story and then they show you the story from the most left wing point of view and the most right wing point of view, and the crazy difference in the way it's being reported, the same exact thing. It's like, it's mind boggling. Do your research, people.
It reminds me of a famous quote from a wise
You were
man
given
who
a
once
lot of
said,
quotes and all this stuff today. Do you have a sheet of sources in front of you you're reading off of? I'm like
"No,
very
but
confused.
a wise man once said, when you trust your television, what you get is what you got. Because when they own the information, they can spin it all they want." You know who said that?
Grandpa?
Tell me you know that song, bro. Are you joking?
Say the line
When you
again.
trust your television, what you get is what you got.
Oh! Believe in yourself. That's a place to start. And I say,
No.
Arthur, no?
Oh my God, no. Are you joking? Because when they own the information, they can spend it all they want. That's why we're waiting.
Okay, maybe that's your tone
Waiting
deaf.
on the world to change.
First of all, it wasn't that far off, but like the way it was
John Mayer.
the way it was singing, I was like, oh my god, it's the Arthur theme song. I was like, I never realized it was so deep. Jeez, wow, that's a
Hey,
really great theme
what a
song.
wonderful time of day
Day when you can work
to
to
be
love.
aardvarks with each other.
Hey. Love that show. But it was a show that really showed kids shit happens. They did a whole thing with 9/11. They had a gay marriage episode. Like, they do things in a way where it's not like preacher or anything like that, but incorporating kids' lives so they understand the differences in life. It's a great show.
Right.
Shout
It
out
wasn't
Arthur.
trying to shove things down your throat as much as it was just trying to give you reality, I think, in a
Right, in a
kid-friendly way.
subtle way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totes.
and now it's trying to either keep up with quotas or public perception. But what he said is true. Like at the end of the day, like we all of us, whether you're on the right, whether you're on the left, you're you're getting your information from some news station, and every news station obviously has their own interests in mind, and they're catering to a
Own
certain crowd,
agenda.
and that's it. Everyone has their own agenda, and like, how do you really? And if you're in the middle, like I like to think of myself as somewhat of like a centrist, but like if you're
In the
how are you supposed
middle.
to? Right, how, like where,
So,
what am I supposed to read? I got to be reading CNN. I'm reading the New York Times. I'm reading the New York Post.
let me tell you what you should read. Hold on. Let me tell you. You're going to pre-order this because in October, The Woman in Me by Britney Spears is coming out, and I think that is what is going to help you through your life. When she's not twirling on Instagram, she's writing books.
And she's been through the ringer, from what I've heard from you and read. So,
Mind your business, bitch.
Right mind.
That's her new song.
Is it really?
Mind your business, bitch. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's really. I don't think that was another thing. Speaking of rights, I'm not sure because she literally has not done any promotion for it. Hasn't mentioned it. Deleted her Instagram the day it was after. And will.i.am is the one who released it. It's will.i.am and Britney Spears, and he did produce her album in 2013, Britney Jean. So it's very possible that he's the one that has the rights to his vocals, and he did admit that they were recorded back then. So it's possible that he did release the song with her without needing her consent.
Speaking of promotion, big fight coming up this Matsu Shabbos Saturday night. Jake Paul getting in the ring with former UFC fighter Nate Diaz, former UFC champion Nate Diaz.
Actually, know the name.
An interesting bout. I mean, Nate Diaz is a decorated UFC fighter. He's absolutely hilarious. And
I can't believe Jake Paul has done so many of these things. I never thought he'd go past one.
So listen, at the end of the day, everyone's making fun of him that you're just fighting retired MMA fighters, and then he fought Tommy Fury. His last fight, he was an actual.
I love that people say that though, and I hate Jake Paul, but to be like, oh, you're just fighting retired, really, bitch? You go up against them,
exactly,
literally.
Exactly.
Oh, Michael Jordan. Oh, well, he's a retired basketball player, bitch. You play against him,
exactly. And even Joe Rogan, who's an extremely he's like an expert martial artist.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, Jake Paul can fight. He knows how to box. He has all the money he needs to put all the right people around him. And a lot of UFC fighters, current UFC fighters, are saying that if I have to put my money on someone, it's Jake. He's a young, fit, athletic guy. Nate is older. He's already a little bit out of his prime. And we'll see where it goes. I'm excited for it because I love Nate, and I think he's he boxed a lot more than your average UFC fighter, but it's going to be pretty wild. It was.
I feel like he just needs to be hit. I feel like Jake Paul just really needs to be hit hard. He just needs to. Someone should hold his arms back as the other person just beats him.
Do you know Bradley Martin?
I mean, it sounds so
he's one of the guys.
American.
He's part of the Full Send crew. He's big. He's 6'2", 300 pounds. He's jacked. He has his own
the Full Send crew.
Full Send, they have the Full Send podcast and
I've heard of it.
On YouTube.
Yeah,
so he's huge. He's not a fighter, but he's a bodybuilder. He's massive, and he has a bunch of gyms. He has his own line of protein and supplements called his company Raw Gear. But he had this boxer Devin Haney on, who's small, but he's a world class boxer. And Bradley's like, you think you could take me in a street fight? He's like, definitely. He's like, no way, bro. And he's like, you don't fight. And when he just had Nate Diaz on his podcast, Nate Diaz is sitting there. He always sounds like he's high. He's smoking something. And he's like, and he was telling him, he's like, I had Devin Haney on. We were talking about if we got into a fight that, he thinks he could definitely beat me up. He's like, you think if me and you fought, you could take me? And he's like, dude, he's like, you're a podcaster, bro. Literally. He's like, I don't know. I think I could take you. He's like, I think if we got into it, he's like, I think I would have a chance. He's like, you won't.
Yeah, literally, people, they're such tough talkers. I can't.
But in the real world, it happens to be probably the best martial art to know if you ever need something in the real world. It's probably grappling, wrestling, or jiu-jitsu, because most fights end up with grappling, end up with grabbing each other. And if you're
when I think grappling, I just think of rappelling off of a mountain. So I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna be fighting someone off and let them
grappling,
rappelling off a mountain. Yeah,
which in Israel they call snappling. Yeah,
snappling. Or maybe grappling is I love this country. The grappler, in James Bond's, in the video games, they used to shoot up a grappler and used to pull you. Yeah, I love that shot.
James Bond GoldenEye, we used to play that on GameCube.
Oh my god, GameCube. You see, you're so young because I used to play it like back in the day
I'm
when it
so
was on
young. I
like
played it with you in your
N64.
room, you clown. You're 4 years older than me. You make it seem like you're 3 decades ahead.
You know what? Like literally, it's funny because my coworker Lauren, who's no longer my coworker because she moved on to another place, and I still love her. She is 3 years older than me, and she's always like, "Oh my god, when I was your age," I'm like, "Bitch, we are 3 years apart, like 3 years, and we're both in our 30s. Like it's not like I'm 17, you're 20, or like something of the sort. Like we're literally 3 years. I feel like once you're 30, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60, you're all just dying. There's just a ticking time
Right.
bomb. So
I
I'm
remember
like,
going
it's
in your room and playing GameCube. You had your PSP. I would play GTA San Andreas on there. I mean, you had all the goodies in there. I used to sneak in and play
I had a
GTA
really
with you.
hard life. I'm glad you brought this up because life was tough growing up.
You had a Wii in your room when it came
But you
out.
know what?
That
It
was like the
happens to
coolest
me
thing.
though. Like, that's the thing is like, I was going through so much shit then, but like at least I had some perks of my life going on because I probably would have killed myself way beforehand. Yeah,
And on
you
that
know.
note,
On that lovely note, I can't even talk.
um,
Girl.
we really got to try to get back on schedule. Hopefully, we'll be back on schedule
Yeah, we
moving
will.
forward.
If anyone wonders what's
Um,
been off schedule, it's not me, it's him. Like every
it
relationship, you
has
break
been
up with
me. I'll
someone.
take
Yeah.
accountability. Hopefully, I'll
It
have
doesn't
my
matter if it
beard
really
trimmed
is. I'll
and
give you
haircut.
accountability. Yeah, I need a haircut
But
too.
hopefully, we'll be back on next week and the following, and maybe have a guest or two. We'll see what that happens. Maybe we could do an in-person one if you can manage to get over here
We
for
should. We should
Shabbos.
do an in-person one for
And
Shabbos.
and God willing, we'll catch everyone on the next one.
Yes, we will. Like and subscribe. Bye,
L'chaim. Bye,
L'chaim. Oh,
everyone.
your glass is empty. See, that's why I had to stop in the middle and
Oh
grab a
shit.
new bottle of wine.
Bye, everyone. Take care.